So let's look at the first thing first here, there. So as I said, in therapy and in life, we often try to change things for the better. And that can include many different things. So maybe we are trying to figure out how to become more self-confident. Maybe we are trying to figure out how to upgrade our relationship, or maybe attract a more loving partner or something like this. Or maybe we are trying to find more satisfaction in our work life, so, stuff like that. And often you will find that your efforts does not bear any fruit, or it seems to not work. So sometimes maybe you know about how sometimes we're trying to become more self-confident, and we have some techniques to become more self-confident, but then we seem to be failing at those techniques because we don't seem to become more self-confident, and the overall result is that we now feel less self-confident, right? Because we are failing even at becoming confident. Or of course, if you go out and you try to find a more loving partner, then maybe you find somebody and you have great hopes, and then you figure out after what, 3 months or maybe longer, that this is the same as what you had before, and that's very discouraging. And of course, the same thing with if you shift job and you think that the new job is going to bring more satisfaction, but then after a while it's just a job. And so there's something about our efforts to change that seems to backfire. And I think the reason for this is that we generally don't understand the true nature of the problem that we're trying to solve. And therefore, the way that we try to solve these problems will backfire, in the sense that it will actually create more of the problem that we're trying to solve. So the more effort you put into to try and change something in your life, those very activities that you do to try to change it actually is what creates the problem in the first place. And I think this, when I've analyzed a lot of sessions, so as those of you who have been to some of my workshops know, I record all workshops, and I've been doing this for 10 years, which means I have a lot of recorded workshops. And during the workshops, we make these small interventions, you can say. And at some point, I just sat down and I analyzed it. And I found that there are kind of 5 different ways in which we try to solve a problem, and the way we try to solve it is actually what creates it. And this is what I have called the 5 nuts. For now, the model looks like this. I think it will soon change a little bit, but the idea is the same, that there's 5 nuts. I call them positive reification, conditionality, negative reification, alienation, and fragmentation. And of course, I can't go into sort of like what all of these nuts are, but I'll say a little bit about some of them. So one of the nuts is the nut of conditionality, and I think that is the one that is really easy to explain, how we're doing something that looks to us as if this should bring us what we're looking for, but somehow it doesn't. So the nut of conditionality is that many times when we want to make a change in life, fundamentally, if we analyze what it is we're trying to achieve, we want to get a particular feeling. We want to feel in a certain way, right? Why do we want to have more self-confidence? Because we think it's going to feel good. We have an idea of how it's going to feel. And you can maybe also say, well, no, but you also want more self-confidence because that will allow you to do certain things in life that you want to do. But why do you want to do those things in life? Because you think that by doing those things, you're going to get a feeling. It's going to feel good. The same with You want to find a partner. Why do you want to find a partner? Because you think if you find the right partner, you're going to feel loved or appreciated or secure or whatever it is that you are seeking from a relationship. So there's a feeling, there's a state that you're looking for. Same with the satisfaction in job, right? Job satisfaction. That's actually speaking directly to the feeling. You want to feel satisfied. And so then we develop ideas about what are the conditions we should fulfill, that if we fulfill those conditions, we'll get those feelings. So if we think that if we want to feel loved, we might think the right partner, that's the condition we need to fulfill, right? We have to figure out how to get the right partner. Or if you want to feel satisfied, maybe you think, well, I have to accomplish something tremendous, then I'll feel satisfied. So we have ideas about what it is we need to do. Now, the interesting thing is that what we are looking for, this feeling that we're looking for, what is it actually? And this is what we generally often don't understand, that the feeling we are looking for is the feeling of the present moment. It's the feeling of being. It is, and as such, what we are searching for is always present, because being is always present. It's all pervasive, and it's ever present. Many times we liken being to physical space, so three-dimensional space, because just like three-dimensional space, it's always present. We couldn't lose it if we wanted to, right? How are you going to get rid of three-dimensional space? You can't do it. In the same way with being, you can't do it. So what we are looking for is something that is already here. That means no condition can create it. And in fact, often because it's already here, but the reason we don't feel it is because we don't notice it. Just like three-dimensional space, being is something is easily overlooked because it doesn't change and it's always present. So we're not really tuned to notice it. And for this reason, if the reason we don't feel these states is because we're not noticing them, even though we are immersed in them, then the more conditions we are trying to fulfill, the more our awareness is taking away from being, the less likely we are to discover it, simply because now all our change project is taking up our awareness. And this is why the more we are trying to change, the less likely we are to notice that what we are seeking is already present. So to illustrate this with a little story, it's how can you use it in therapy? In therapy, one very easy way to use it is to say, instead of helping a client fulfill the conditions that they want to fulfill, you can shift their attention and have them describe to you in great detail what it is they're actually seeking. Because as they are describing what they're actually seeking, they will turn their awareness towards it, and then they will notice that they can feel it without fulfilling the conditions, which is very counterintuitive and very fun to do. So, for example, imagine you're having a client who wants to find a stable partner. And then you ask why. And then they say, well, I want to find a stable partner because I want to start a family, right? So one condition leading to the fulfillment of another condition. Then you say, why? And they might say, well, stability I think if I have a family, I will get a sense of belonging and a sense of love. Great. So now we have the state that fulfilling the conditions will lead to. And then you can get very curious and say, well, describe this sense of belonging and this sense of love. And one of the ways of describing it that really works very well is to ask to describe it with neutral sensory words, no abstractions, right? Really, what's the actual physical sensation? So you might feel that when you belong, when you feel loved, when you feel loving, it feels warm, it feels calm, it feels pleasant. Maybe there's also a sense of relaxation, that's this pleasant sense of weightiness that comes. And as the client described these things, often you will see that they're starting to feel it, right? The whole physiology changes. And when this happens, you can say, well, do you feel it? They will tell you, yes, they do. And then you say, maybe you can continue the description. You can ask, how does it affect you to feel this? And they might say, oh, I feel more stable, and I actually feel I belong in life, and I feel love, even if I don't have the family. And that is so interesting, right? Because then you can say, okay, so how is it to notice that this state is actually accessible to you now without fulfilling any conditions? And then you can, of course, go on and say, well, how do you feel about because maybe the person will still like to establish a family, and you can say, how is the whole family establishing project? How do you feel about that? And they might feel a lot less worried, a lot less concerned, because now the project is quote unquote just about establishing a family. It is not also about acquiring connection to a certain aspect of being, because they have that. So this is about the first secret. So why trying to change often doesn't work? Because we are trying to make changes because we believe making those changes will give us something. But what we are unaware of is we already have it. And the more we try to acquire it, the more we'll lose awareness of it. And then that's what gives us the impression that we have lost it. Good, so that was the first one.